Hi everyone, this is Faye Enigma. It's April 18th, 2014. I've been meaning to blog, but there's been, excuse me, there's been so much going on that I haven't had the time or the frame of mind. I have this bulletin board. It's just a little list of things that I wanted to discuss, little topics that I've written down, just so that moment and what I wanted to say would stay fresh. I'd like to try to cover as much of those, if not all of them, that I possibly can. I've been trying to get this video done for over 2 hours now. I keep getting interrupted, much like that. But hopefully I'm going to be able to get through it this time. My mother-in-law passed away March 22nd, 2014, around 11 a.m. For those who are not aware, she had fallen. She broke her pelvis, and the doctors had sent her home much sooner than I had anticipated. She was found blue and unresponsive in bed, and it was later discovered that she had suffered a massive stroke. I had told her nurses when she was first in the ICU that I believed she was having mini strokes, but nobody listened. The stroke had pretty much affected, if not altogether destroyed, the left side of her brainstem, her cerebellum, and she would never have recovered. A DNR had been issued, and life support was removed. She clung to life 12 hours after the initial removal of her life support. Her dog, Boo Boo, followed her. She began seizing shortly after my mother-in-law went to the hospital, and the bad news had, hit us. She was humanely euthanized. My sister-in-law, henceforth referred to as Evil Incarnate, threw a strawberry daiquiri party 2 days and nights in a row with one of her boyfriends. One of her boyfriends that does not live here. The man that lived here had to come home and see a stranger in bed with the woman he professed to love, and he got drunk. But it was just, she was so disrespectful about the whole thing. It was like celebrating, and not celebrating the life that her mother had lived, but celebrating that she died and she didn't have to follow her rules anymore. But her boyfriend, whatever, drank openly in front of her kids. On the second night after her passing, my brother-in-law also got drunk. Things were said that still have me licking my wounds in a corner, but it's neither here nor there now. When she would come home, she would only be home for a few moments, just short little bursts, but in those short bursts, she would completely destroy the house. She would have laundry flung from one room to another as she stripped out her clothes and changed into new ones. She would make herself something to eat, make her kids watch her eat it without even offering them a bite. and dishes would be everywhere. It would just, everything would be completely destroyed. The night that my mother-in-law passed, my father-in-law went to the store in which I work to get cigarettes, and I had a coworker contact me on Facebook. She's very apologetic, and I couldn't quite understand what she was talking about first. So she said, "I need to tell you what happened." And come to find out, my father-in-law had apparently propositioned her daughters. She said originally she didn't think anything about it. He had asked if one of her daughters was available, and she had mistakenly assumed he meant for a babysitter, thinking that we all needed time to grieve. But he corrected her. He said, "No, I don't need a babysitter. I need a new wife." I was so disgusted. I had thought that, for once in his life, he could be human. He could feel remorse, feel grief. And just like that, I wanted to take back any nice thing that I had said about him. I hugged this man as his wife lay in the bed dying, because he was shedding tears. And in the blink of an eye, any sympathy I had for him went out the window. I have been sickened and repulsed by essentially everybody in this house. I went up to visit my mother-in-law before she passed. After I'd been told that I wasn't family and I was not welcome. It was very hard. It was hard not only because I was witnessing my husband's mother pass and losing a mother figure, losing a friend, losing an ally, but because seeing her in that bed, it struck all these memories of my own grandmother passing, her being in her own hospital bed, and it was very hard. It's difficult to see my husband so somber. It's difficult to see him so serious. And it's not often that he asks things, not often that he uses certain words. And last night, when we were going up to the store, we were talking and came up to this red light, and he asked me this question, and he said, "I want to ask you something, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. But do you think she did it to herself? Do you think it was on purpose?" It took me a while to really process the question. It's hard for me to put how I feel, what I think, into words. I feel that, everything has to be right. And verbal communication isn't a strong point of mine. But I answered him. I took my time. I weighed every word carefully. I said something along the lines of, she was suffering. And she was. She suffered. Her quality of life was terrible. Her reality was terrible. And as much of an advocate as she was to protect these kids, she had to see just how her efforts were failing. She was constantly told to wait, and her health kept declining, and she couldn't enjoy life. All the substances she downed trying to alter that reality didn't work anymore. So maybe she did want it all to go away. My sister-in-law moved out. It was abrupt. She just didn't come home. She dumped the guy that she had living here with her and moved in with this other guy that she'd already been into a relationship with once before. Already burned him once. I would think he'd be smarter than that. But she left the kids. Like we were thankful. She left the kids here with us. I mean, we all know that she doesn't want them. She doesn't care. They're her pawns. But there's talk about her trying to remove them from this household. And just as that talk, started circulating around the house, I am told that she is in this other side relationship with a parolee who just got out of jail, who'd spent 8 years already in jail for sexual assault and molestation of a child. Now, Chris has already been hurt. He has night terrors. He has trust issues. And she wants to remove these kids out of this house and subject them to that. A lifetime registered offender. To top that off, she starts accusing the man that she brought to live into our house, of being romantically involved with a 13 or 16-year-old girl. So she's slandering his name and telling her father that I don't want that kind of person around my daughter. Okay. So because you're through using him, you don't want him around your kids anymore. But it's okay to bring around a complete scumbag who is guilty of abusing a child. I'm completely blown away. And what blows me away more is the fact that she takes off with the kids. And she informs my brother-in-law, while I'm in earshot, that she'll be bringing them by the house periodically while she's at work. Which translates into, I'm going to pick them up and drop them off whenever I want, whenever I need something. here comes the kicker. My father-in-law, after being confronted with all this damning information, allows the children to be let out of this house and into danger. My anxiety, my depression has reached critical. It has reached a critical low or high, however you want to put it, and it has been very difficult for me to go to work. I have full-blown panic attacks before every shift, and I have to try to paint this face back on that I'm okay, that I'm a normal person, that being in a social situation or working with, the public, like I do, doesn't affect me, that I enjoy it. I've had to miss a lot of work the past probably 4 months. I've missed a lot. Between Judy first becoming ill, being released, falling and breaking her pelvis, her passing, and dealing with grief, and trying to fight for the protection of these kids, I've missed a lot of work. I called in today. Evil Incarnate had taken off with the kids again last night, and I've been beside myself. These kids are the closest and only thing that my husband and I will ever have to having our own. And she just uses them. And I called in because I've been so upset and crying so much that I've made myself physically sick. I threw up 5 times trying to get ready for work, and my anxiety levels just continued to intensify. And I didn't know how I'd be able to hold things together and feel okay when I was feeling nothing but overwhelmed and like I can't go on. And I didn't think going to work would be in the best interest of the company. I called, spoke to one of my managers, who was actually the store manager, and I was informed that my hours are probably going to be severely cut, which means my insurance that I haven't even gotten to use yet is going to be null and void, because I have to work a certain amount of hours to qualify for the insurance, and that he had been receiving many complaints from my coworkers, no doubt because they had to take time out of their lives to pick up my slack. So my job is in peril right now. And I'm just trying to do what's right. I'm just trying to protect these innocent lives that didn't deserve any of this. And for any of my coworkers that might ever watch this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was never my intention for what we go through here to spill into your life. We just want these kids to be safe.